And we're finding that today as we look at our environment. We really need a generation that is well informed, that are stewards for nature and for our planet.
We live in a generation now where everything is plugged in and in a room with lights and a keyboard, and I think it would be really easy for this generation to forget how to play outside.
The art and science and what's, you're kind of taking a step back from the technology that we have now. You're coming back to nature, you're coming back to simple things. You're doing traditional practices, and here you have an environment with all kinds of creative people.
Working with the scientists and artists is really valuable. Just being able to walk in and sit down and see how they do what they really love doing. It's experiential.
When you have professional artists and college professors and scholars and scientists working together, it certainly brings everything up a couple levels. But there's still that emphasis on fun, and let's be kids.
We're outside of the classroom, we're expanding our horizons, we're developing a unity, working with others, we're experiencing the lives of different people, and we're experiencing both science and art together, we're opening up our imaginations.
This is definitely outside of the box, would you not say? I don't see no box. You guys see a box? No!
Before we had Art and Sciences Woods here at Blue Heron Farm, we weren't living here full time, and we're visiting my father on the farm and talked about doing a program for children. And someone told us about our neighbor having a camp that we could use, and we went up and asked our neighbor, could we use your camp? And that's where we started. It began with 450 students and 40 artists and scientists and engineers and designers. After we outgrew just one facility, then we started to look at the family farms and open up a vision for how we could use the farm full-time for the programs.
Our intention was to try to present to kids and communities, kids and their families, an approach to academic study, the arts and the sciences, that sort of broadens their perspective.
We wanted children to learn firsthand, to have the opportunity to explore as a scientist or as an artist their creativity and problem solving. And we wanted professional artists and scientists to work with them because they would provide a wealth of knowledge and experience, and also would have the passion and the inspiration that would motivate children to learn on their own and be first-hand learners.
I think we try to look at giving young students as wide a variety of experience as we can, which is part of the reason why we have majors in the morning and minors in the afternoon. They can choose 4 minor classes, all of which give them contact with someone very quite different, quite outside the ordinary.
I think it's different learning at the STEM Foundation than it is in a classroom, is because, first of all, you're surrounded by nature, which is very beautiful out there, and usually the person teaching you is trying to make everything as fun as possible and making sure you have a good time.
Oh no! 我要是两个。
I've never been to a camp that really balances that sense of real learning and real inquisitiveness, as well as the funnest parts of camp, you know, the climbing trees and catching fish and playing tag and catching snakes. That's what this camp does. It really finds that balance between, you know, letting kids be kids, but taking advantage of teachable moments, being open to spontaneity, but yet it's really grounded in academics.
We learned many years ago that the child wasn't designed to sit in a classroom 8 hours a day. Bob grew up in Seattle, Washington with salmon spawning in his backyard, and I grew up in Roseland, Illinois with wild prairies. And as children, that was our library, that was our classroom. If you look at our answers as in living in tribal societies, you would be born into your village and you would be on your mother's back, and you got to see everything that the adult world did. And so by the time you became an adult, you knew what adults did, and you had a wealth of knowledge and experiences and abilities, and you know how to use the tools of your culture. And I'm afraid that's disappearing in our own culture.
No, but seriously, Gandhi practiced nonviolence, and he managed to make India completely independent simply by practicing nonviolence. And let me tell you, it was hard. Very difficult to watch the
You probably had to go to a
smashings.
hospital a lot.
But I don't think we can have like a Gandhi type of lacrosse game. I don't know how to do it.
Well, why
What
don't
do
we
you
just
think? What
smash
do you guys
people
think?
instead? How's that? No.
Why?
Let's just smash people.
That,
Sounds a lot
see,
more fun.
but see, he makes a good point. If there's always constant smashing, then that's not good for like the world to have constant smashing, no?
Yeah. But this is a double ball field, so it's fine.
See, exactly. That's what I think, right? Because I think we do our smashing here on the field,
And then
so that
when
out in the
we're
regular
gone-
world we can just be like, hey. I think, well, first of all, I always joke with the kids and I say, would you like me to teach you how to practice teamwork? Or would you like me to have you guys run laps to get physically fit? Or would you guys prefer that I just throw you a ball and say, you guys go play? So I think, sometimes I think it was probably easier for parents, you know, back in the day, to teach things like teamwork, or playing as hard as you can, or being nice to other people. To teach all these things, it was much easier to just throw the kids the ball and let them learn these things on their own than it was to try to say, you do this and you do that. And, you know, so the kids end up learning on their own real fast.
They get ownership out of the idea that I am building this. It's one thing to be able to go to somebody and say, I want that, can I have that? But when they have to use their hands to make it happen for themselves, this is mine, this is ownership. I did this, look what I did, kind of a situation. The ownership is the big thing for me. And it's like this other step into what will later become adulthood and making sure that they're in the place that they need to be. They're following in this footstep. It's a little more of ownership to themselves and responsibilities coming into play now. And by day one, you know, they're a little nervous and they make it happen. Here comes day two and they're a little more comfortable, and you see the confidence that they have taken on.
Oh, who figured it out?
And that is key in all of our lives.
From children that are sitting absolutely still, you know, like, what's this going to be? What are we going to do? Can I get it done? To confident people who will hold their heads up, who will speak out, who will share their thoughts, and that they know that they matter. Their voices matter. Their points of view matter. They want to show that they can read. They want to show that they can write. They want to show that they can tell the stories, play the drums. And they make friends that they've never met before. So why is it so yellow? How they just stand around?
Why are they wearing pants?
Well, sometimes we wore short pants and long pants and tennis shoes, and sometimes no shoes at all. We were just safe and we were just free. And that was a part of growing up in a neighborhood like this. I see a lot of my kids from Sun Foundation in the city, in Chicago. I saw one in New York. I met one of the kids in London. They're sticking with art, you know. So what we did yesterday and we're doing today, the improvements are there because, you know, time, techniques evolve. But the teaching, the one-on-one, and you know, a real teacher before you instead of a screen, you know. This place is like that. This place is about contact, speaking directly, and teaching students, you know, teaching them by doing.
But please try to blend with each other. I know a lot of you guys haven't had that experience of vocal training, but listen to the person next to you and try to make your voices sound like one voice.
When I was learning from Molly, she was able to give us experience that she had in the past and pointers that always help her and can help basically everyone. And when you have stories and experiences you can contribute to your teaching, you can make it seem a lot more fun and people feel excited for your class or anything that you're teaching?
What's the most interesting tribe you've ever been with? And why? It's a double question.
Yeah, so anyway, I travel around a lot visiting different indigenous groups trying to figure out what human rights issues they have, so that I can hopefully work with governments to change policy. So, and I also go off and learn wilderness survival from them and bring it back and teach these guys how to shoot teddy bears with blowguns, which they're pretty adept at. And so, I don't know, and the Amazon was a pretty amazing group of people that are still hunter-gatherers, and hanging out with them was definitely a pretty cool experience. But the cool thing about it is to see the similarities between what they do and what these guys do in this class, and how they just like get up in trees and fight with sticks and play and do the same stuff that we're doing in art and science.